What if I told you that behind Stevie Nicks' velvet shawls and haunting voice lies a story so dark, so heartbreaking, that even her closest friends couldn't survive it? From Joe Walsh calling her the love of his life to Fleetwood Mac's legendary implosions, the truth about Stevie Nicks is far from the fairy tale fans imagined. And once you hear what Joe Walsh finally admitted, you'll never see Stevie the same way again. This is the untold story of Stevie Nicks, the queen of rock who enchanted the world with her voice, her mystique, and her magic. But behind the stage lights, her relationships were explosive, her rivalries cut deep, and her personal life was haunted by choices that would never stop echoing. Stay with me, because what starts as a love story between Stevie Nicks and Joe Walsh soon unravels into one of the most turbulent sagas in rock history. It was the 1980s. Stevie Nicks was the mystical queen of Fleetwood Mac, and Joe Walsh was already a legend with the Eagles. When their worlds collided, it felt like destiny, powerful, intoxicating, and unstoppable. Stevie once called Joe Walsh the great love of my life. But the reality? It was chaos. Their romance was fueled by cocaine, jealousy, and emotional scars that ran deep. Picture hotel rooms destroyed after midnight screaming matches. Picture all-night paranoia, promises made and shattered before sunrise. Stevie clung to Joe, desperate, convinced he was the one thing keeping her alive. But Joe was crumbling too. He later admitted that Stevie wasn't a goddess to be worshipped, she was fragile, demanding, and battling demons that consumed not only herself but everyone around her. And when their love finally ended, it wasn't with closure, it was silence, resentment, a wound Stevie carried for decades. But heartbreak with Joe Walsh was just the beginning, because Stevie's storm pulled in everyone around her. You've probably heard whispers of Stevie's long-standing feud with Chrissy Hind of the Pretenders. At first, they admired each other, two powerful women carving space in a male-dominated industry. But soon admiration turned to contempt. Chrissy mocked Stevie's mystical image, the shawls, the veils, the floating theatrics, accusing her of hiding behind a persona. Stevie, wounded and fiercely protective of her artistry, refused to back down. Festivals became battlegrounds where dressing rooms had to be placed on opposite sides of the venue. And it didn't stop there. Belinda Carlisle of the Go-Go's became another silent rival. Stevie reportedly accused her of stealing her style. Backstage whispers told of screaming matches, icy stares, and rival interviews dripping with subtle digs. But perhaps the most heartbreaking rifts weren't with rivals, they were with the people Stevie loved the most. For years, Stevie's backup singers Laurie Nicks and Sharon Seleny were her sisters in harmony. They toured the world together, finishing each other's sentences and surviving the chaos of fame. But Stevie's moods grew unpredictable. One moment, she clung to them like lifelines. The next, she froze them out completely. Whispers of money disputes and creative control pushed the bond past breaking. It didn't end in one fiery explosion, but in 100 small heartbreaks, a silence that hurt more than any fight. Even at home, Stevie's family didn't know how to handle her. Her father, Jess Nicks, disapproved of her chaotic lifestyle and often criticized her choices. Her mother tried to be supportive but never fully understood the burden Stevie carried. And when Stevie made the painful decision to end a pregnancy during her on and off relationship with Don Henley, she admitted decades later that it haunted her. To the world, she was untouchable, but inside, she was grieving the life she never had. On stage, Stevie Nicks and Christine McVie were the twin pillars of Fleetwood Mac, two queens holding the kingdom together. Fans believed they were inseparable sisters. But behind the curtain, cracks formed. Christine quietly accused Stevie of being unreliable, self-centered, treating Fleetwood Mac like a side project compared to her solo career. Stevie, in turn, felt abandoned during her darkest moments of addiction, believing Christine had emotionally checked out. By the mid-1990s, tension reached a boiling point. Christine reportedly told the band, "If Stevie stays, I go." Recording sessions turned toxic, every rehearsal a minefield. When Christine rejoined Fleetwood Mac in 2014, fans hoped for healing. But the reality? Stevie reportedly demanded creative control, sidelining Christine's input. On stage, they smiled for the cameras, but off stage, they stayed in separate hotels, barely speaking. What fans mistook for sisterhood had become a carefully staged illusion. And then there was Lindsey Buckingham, the love story that defined Fleetwood Mac. They started as teenage dreamers, inseparable and chasing fame together. But fame turned their love into war. By the time Fleetwood Mac exploded in the 70s, their relationship had already shattered. Yet night after night, they sang songs filled with heartbreak and resentment, standing just inches apart. Every lyric was a weapon, every harmony, a hidden argument. The backstage tension was unbearable. Lindsey resented Stevie's solo success. She accused him of cruelty and control. He accused her of abandoning the band. And then came 2018. Stevie reportedly demanded Lindsey be fired after feeling disrespected during a performance. The band chose Stevie. Lawsuits flew. The dream of a full Fleetwood Mac reunion died in that moment. Their story was equal parts love, betrayal, and tragedy, a curse that defined them both. Now, decades later, Joe Walsh's confession has stripped away the fantasy. The truth about Stevie Nicks isn't just glitter and gold. Her legacy is monumental. Yes, but it's also haunted. She left a trail of broken friendships, shattered romances, and rivalries that shaped rock history. People adored her, feared her, envied her, and sometimes couldn't stand her. But that's what makes Stevie Nicks unforgettable. She wasn't just a muse. She wasn't just the voice of Fleetwood Mac. She was a hurricane in velvet, beautiful, destructive, impossible to ignore. Her greatness came at a cost, and that cost was carried not only by Stevie herself, but by everyone who stepped into her orbit. So here's the question: was Stevie Nicks a victim of her own demons, or a storm the world simply couldn't contain? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because love her or fear her, Stevie's story is one we'll be talking about forever.